Oh, we're finally live on another episode of Go FUD Yourself, your daily crypto newscast where we sort of talk about the news and sort of just bullshit about our own opinions. How you doing, Bolin?
Good. How are you?
I'm incredible. I'm happy to be here. Bolin is joining us from DFK. Usually I have you on like a DGen episode, but today is not explicitly a DGen episode. So I don't know.
We'll make it
how you're
one.
going to feel.
Anything can be DGen if you try hard enough.
Well, we shouldn't have to try too hard. Solely on our topics today. Before we get started, I heard that DFK is on TV right now on like Shark Tank or something.
Not quite Shark Tank, but
Okay.
yes. So the next crypto gym is a crypto themed TV reality show.
Yeah.
Aimed at introducing crypto to the masses and doing some education on like what the industry is.
Cool.
So it did start kind of like a pre-release. So right now it is streaming on Distro TV, which is a free app if you're interested. New episodes come out every Thursday, and they do have the previous ones on demand. They usually go on demand about 24 hours after it airs. And so right now it's streaming there, and then I believe it is October 2nd that it is scheduled to go out to a bunch of networks. I believe Prime Video is on that list, and then also like cable networks as well. So it's pretty cool.
Are you on it?
I am not.
Oh
no, they know better than to put me on TV. Only Rome Blockchain Labs hasn't learned that I'm a dangerous person to put on camera.
Okay, this is a genuine question. How are they filming a TV show with everybody distributed? Like, did everyone have to get together for episodes, or are they like filming your Zoom calls?
No. So they did have everybody come out to LA and like do the filming, and then now is the release. So it's not like live.
I liked the idea of just like recording Zoom calls and making that a Netflix special. I was like, videography at its finest. Okay.
That would be dangerous.
Okay, well, if you want to see more about the very successful story of DeFi Kingdoms, I guess tune into Crypto Gem, which will soon be on Prime.
I believe Prime Video is on that list. There's a bunch.
Not the world I thought we were going to live in. When you joined DFK, were you like, man, I can't wait for us to get a show on Prime?
No, never crossed my mind, to be honest.
Cool. Well, okay, today in news, we are going to start with crypto industry paychecks. I don't know if we'll even get past that because we'll have a lot of opinions on crypto, but are people getting paid in crypto or fiat, and why? And then just a few hours ago, BitBoy got arrested again. So we're going to really focus on real world stories today, like Fiat and BitBoy. After that, we will go into Binance because it's just kind of like comedic that they're in the tabloids still. We'll get into GameFi, and then if we have time, we'll talk about some pretty big Avalanche news. Avalanche is now with Google Cloud and a couple of other big Avalanche things, but we're probably going to focus on Fiat and BitBoy for too long to actually get there. Are you ready? You feeling good?
Oh yeah, I support it.
Well, we have a new song today. We have a new video, and I uploaded it specifically for you. Remember that one time we said that you thought JD was more punk rock than I am?
I do.
He was offended.
Wait, he was offended?
Yeah, I thought it was comedic, but he was offended.
I thought you were offended.
Takes so much more. Maybe I should have been offended.
I'll try harder.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You have a whole 26 minutes still, so let's go for it. Okay, so crypto industry paycheck preferences. I'm going to share some news, and then we'll do a little bit of a back and forth on it. But basically, in the crypto industry or in the Web3 industry, 97% of people are getting paid in fiat. And this is not what you would expect. Also, I didn't expect to be part of the 3%. So Pantera Capital did a study. I'm sure that it's a identified study, so there might be some bias in it. But basically, the majority of people who are crypto industry employees, if they have the choice, they get a government issued fiat currency, typically their home currency, not just USD. They're those who actually get paid in crypto. Most of them are getting paid in USDC, USDT, and Bitcoin. That's pretty predictable. And then there's a very small amount of us who still get paid in whatever token we're supporting. What's kind of interesting is that the distribution is depending on if people are in person or if they're online. It just seems to depend as well as when they entered the market. So people who entered during the bull market are more likely to still get paid in crypto because they haven't renegotiated their contract. And then people who work remotely are also more likely to get paid in crypto. That's kind of interesting, probably because you can't buy a bus pass with your DFK tokens.
Yet.
Crypto executives do not like being paid in crypto. So that's an interesting one. And then this also does not include token incentives. So if you're getting bonuses or something like that, that's not including in all of this. There had some information on vesting, but I found that it was just really fluffy. It was like some people vested and some people didn't. So the other thing is about median global salaries. So global salaries for crypto engineers is 120K, with North American engineers closer to 193K. So that idea of distributed work really did allow crypto companies to short people, I guess. So that's the world in fiat. What do you get paid in?
So I have actually been all three. So yeah. So when we very first started the project, we all got paid in our tokens because we were bootstrapped. That's all we had. We didn't have money.
Yeah. What was your real job?
What was I doing last? So I switched jobs a couple times, like right before I came here, because I just decided that I was tired of being completely miserable in my job and that I would just leave it if I was. So right before this, I was actually doing contracts for fiber installation in apartment complexes and neighborhoods. But my whole background is like sales, customer service, and sales management and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're in crypto sales management. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Basically. So when we first started, we paid in our own tokens. Then we moved to USDC, and then now we have moved to fiat. So I've literally been all three. And I will say, from my perspective, I don't have a strong preference, except for the fact that when we were paid in our own tokens, there's just a lot of misconception about that and a lot of misunderstanding. So obviously if you're paid in your own tokens, everything's on the chain, which means everybody can see it, and they will. And that's not bad in itself, as long as people understand, like, this is my job. I still have bills. I have to pay those bills. And if I'm getting paid in our tokens, I do have to sell some of those tokens to pay my bills. So that's a big part of it. We always had pretty strict limits on like how much we could sell and when and that kind of thing. So, if the token price is already trending down, don't sell. Don't sell enough to make it trend down. So we had actual metrics around it in order to, protect that pricing. But there's definitely a lot of, somebody on the team is selling. Well, right, because like we're still alive and I need to eat and pay my rent. So there's definitely a lot of misconceptions there. And then also especially during the bull market, there's a lot of misconceptions in terms of value, right? So, we agreed to be paid an amount of this token. There's no guarantees of value. There's no telling what it's going to be. It's, you're getting this much of this token, per hour, per week, whatever the case may be. And then on weeks that the token does really well, everybody's like, oh, you guys are getting paid way too much. And it's like, well, like, but we aren't, because A, I can't even sell all of it. So I'm not actually getting paid all of that. And B, like that's not a guarantee. If the token price goes down, like I'm still getting the same number of tokens. So, obviously like you can make adjustments and all that. And we did make a lot of adjustments even prior to switching off of token pay, but you get a lot of optics issues paying in your own tokens. And I definitely think that's a big part of why so much of the industry still pays in fiat.
Right. That makes sense. It's interesting that you said there are a lot of metrics surrounding it, and now's a good time for you to sell if you're an employee, what have you. Did you have contractual obligations to hold for periods of time or anything like that?
No, so like some like bonuses and all that were vested when we did them. So to your point earlier, a lot of it is fluff, but we were one of those projects. If we did any bonuses, they all vested. But there was no contractual obligation of like, you have to maintain this much of a balance or anything like that. The only contractual obligations was, sell within these limits to not negatively impact our own pricing, because that's bad.
Yeah, I have seen some projects, I haven't been a part of them, but I've seen some projects where you're not allowed to sell for X many months, or founders weren't allowed to sell more than X%, or what have you, which sounds really great until you live in America and have to go to the hospital or something.
Right.
Like,
Well,
oh.
I mean, it's also just like, at that point, just vest it. Like, just don't even
Right.
give it to them. Like, the whole concept of Web3 is to be trustless. Why put it in their wallet? That's when we had vesting bonuses, we had a contract that held those. Like, I can't sell it until it is mine. Problem solved.
There's another interesting component here that you mentioned, where it is on chain, so you can see where that money goes, and you can see who's doing what with that money. And this is actually one of the CBDC concerns people talk about is, well, are people going to be able to visibly see what I'm spending? Is my employer going to be able to see what I'm spending on? Is the government going to be able to impose different taxes or regulations based on what I'm spending on? And so, I mean, just random thing. I mean, everybody's got to work, right? Everybody's got a job, and some people misrepresent themselves to get that job. By which I don't mean their qualifications, but like I've known people who worked for the Catholic school board who were really suddenly Catholic. Like,
right. Oh no, you're definitely right. Like,
right? Or people who work for a health and wellness company, but like love binge drinking or something like that. And so there's this other component of, if we do live in a world where everything is DeFi or everything is a CBDC, weird that those are similar in this case, your employer can see exactly what percentage of income you're spending, but where, when, and that might make it harder to make a good case for something like a raise or a cost of living increase, or maybe they just think you're not a good fit because of what you do on the weekend.
Right. Which ultimately is none of their business.
Right.
So yeah, no, I definitely agree. And that's where, like, when people talk about going cashless, I no, I don't support that at all. I barely use cash. I hate cash. I don't want to deal with it. But when I want to use cash, if I want to do something, it's mine. Like, leave me alone. Let me do what I want. And that's where, I don't think the anonymity side of DeFi will ever, or of blockchain, really, the anonymity side of blockchain will ever really die. I think it'll always exist to, like, it'll be the dark web, to where, you can still have that anonymous wallet too. And that's where, like, your obligation as a team member of the project comes in to not have anonymous wallets. But as an individual, most people in crypto are anonymous realistically to their wallet.
Right. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. There's a lot more that we could dive into here. Something else that I want to point out before we move on is the idea that we're now hiring, because crypto has grown so much and because it is a bear market. We, as in the industry, is often hiring people who don't have a background in crypto. And so even if they get paid in crypto, it is all off-ramped immediately. And that includes a lot of people at the company I work at. It includes a lot of people I meet in my day-to-day life. And whether that's just because they joined in a bear market and they don't see what they should be doing with their crypto, or because they're living right to the end of their means, or stability, or any other sort of
education too. They just don't know. They don't know what they're doing. So somebody taught them how to get their wallet, move their tokens to a centralized exchange, and off-ramp. And that's all they know how to do. Which, to an extent, that was me when I started, to be honest. Like, I had never gotten that far into DeFi, and I didn't know a whole lot of what to do. Now, I was nosy and just started exploring instead, but, like, it's hard, especially, like, we're building a game, we're bringing in artists. These artists aren't necessarily crypto, like, they aren't crypto artists. And so there's definitely, like, an education piece to that as well, where, you got to be careful not to become their, financial manager, but just helping them understand how they're getting paid, what they can do with it, etc., and then leaving it up to them. Some of them will still entirely off ramp, but at least they'll know what their options are.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually talking with one of our founders, Alex Zool, about this just the other day, because oftentimes we have people working on a project who are fantastic at their role but would never use the product. And I'm like, okay, well, if they don't use the product, then how are we going to get anyone else to use the product? panicked, right? So this is step one, but this turned into a broader conversation of what are they doing with their money? Like if we get paid in crypto, which we do every couple of weeks, and you off ramp all of it, is that the best case scenario for you financially? And what is the employer's obligation to inform you about your other options? And also, where can the employer misstep or be held liable if they inform you about your other options too much? So it does get complicated, but I guess for 97% of people in crypto, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of gray areas there, and that's where it gets really hard. And that's just, it's new. It's a new industry. Nobody really has figured it out yet.
You know who else is a gray area? I've been practicing my segues, as you can tell. BitBoy. BitBoy is a gray area. So this just came up, and frankly, I did not do my due diligence on this because we were talking about it right before we started. But basically, our lovely favorite Ben Armstrong has been arrested. He ended up being held for about 8 hours before he was posted on bail. People are saying all sorts of things, whether he's connected to the mafia, he was live streaming, he had guns, he didn't have his Lambo. There's a lot going on here. I know you were stoked about this. Are you a BitBoy fan?
I honestly had never watched him or paid any attention until everything started just blowing up. And I was like, what is happening?
And so there was like a mutiny?
I love the background. Yeah, there definitely was. I'll just say it takes a lot to get removed from something that's named after you, but it is possible. But yeah, no, this was wild. Like again, I was just on Twitter and started seeing everything pop up, and I'm like, what's happening right now? And then started reading the comments and saw an article this morning. But yeah, I mean, the whole situation is just wild, and it's like it's a very odd situation.
It's so weird.
And it just feels like there's something missing. Like, why?
I love it.
It's just gone from nothing to so escalated so fast.
Yeah. So the story is that he was streaming in his vehicle, which was not a Lambo, outside of his ex-partner's home. And didn't you say that his new partner who he had an affair with was with him or something?
So not his new partner, but the woman that he had an affair with was with him. And apparently, according to the article, there was a gun in the backseat. That was the first I had heard of guns.
Apparently he was sitting outside the home, having some sort of Twitter rant on live streaming about how his ex-partner still had his Lambo. And people called the police, not the partner, not the person in the home, but people watching called the police. And that's how he got arrested. As you go through the article, there's also some things about how he might be tied to the mafia.
Yeah, I was also confused by that and did not have time to research further.
Okay, here's what I really think about this, though. So we now have, DFK was on CryptoGen, so we've got crypto reality shows, right? We've got BitBoy and Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, so we've got crypto tabloids. So when are we getting crypto daytime soaps?
Ooh.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm waiting for.
Isn't that what Binance is at this point?
Really good point. There are some recurring characters. Every season, someone gets removed from the Binance show. They've expanded. They have their show in multiple time zones around the world. But sometimes, they get cut from networks. So, you know what? Great analogy, Bolin. Thanks for that.
Worked out well as a segue too. I was proud of it.
That's solid. So Binance, there's 3 different Binance articles that we can talk about, but the biggest one is that Wall Street Journal actually published that they are collapsing. So whether you believe that in the Web3 or not, WSJ says Binance is collapsing. They said there's a severe crisis, there's international regulatory issues. One of the co-founders had a message that he sent out. He said, every battle is a do or die situation that people believe is a warning sign to the broader issue. We have a lot of different news that comes out from them in this country, not in this country, found a loophole, got banned by the loophole. I don't know.
They also just resumed services in Belgium, I think.
In Belgium. That was last week they were resuming, and then today or last night they just resumed. So that was a big one. But that happened because they got a Polish banking license or a Polish crypto institution license that allowed them to loophole into the EU, basically. I don't know. Are they collapsing? Do you think that they have like a long game, or do you think this is?
I mean, I don't think they're collapsing. I do think that they probably don't have much of a like long-term plan currently because everywhere they go, they just get hit with something new.
Right.
And you know, is some of it their fault? Maybe, possibly. Could probably argue some of it is. Is some of it just now people are paying attention and hitting them for stuff that they did 3 years ago? Also, yes. So you know, it's a very discovering time to you know see how things go. I personally I would be surprised if they just like up and up collapsed one day, right? Like even when you know they've stopped supporting fiat in the US, but even that was like a phased thing. You know, they emailed
Yep.
everybody, they warned everybody, they said, hey, you know, you got 10 days or whatever it was. Like I can't see them just tomorrow being like, oh, we're gone, bye. I mean, also because there's too many pending lawsuits, but
Yeah, also.
uh,
So they
you know
actually,
how.
this is interesting. They have a new CMO. And she was
Oh,
previously the VP of global marketing. And then the
okay,
CMO left, as you might
right,
remember,
yeah,
like a few weeks
yeah,
ago. And so she stepped up to do this, Rachel Conlon. And I'm just going to say that that sounds like a job I would take because I have no risk aversion.
right.
Like, like
I
because I make bad choices, I would
I'd
take
get
that job.
fired so fast
Yeah.
too, because like they'd put me in it, and it would just be troll campaigns. Like, oh, did something stupid happen? Let's go. This is our new marketing
Yeah, let's go
campaign.
for it.
We're
Yeah.
gonna lean into it. We're gonna make it ridiculous. We're gonna have a good time, and then I'm gonna get fired, and it's fine. I don't care. But
So she's taken this like really specific stance on highlighting their great corporate culture and their long-term game in that, about how flat the organization is and about how accessible the founder and co-founder are, like CZ and Yi, I believe.
yeah,
Um, how diverse the team is, how personally successful all of the corporate or the
I don't
professional
think the
development.
issue was about their
Um,
corporate
no,
environment.
she's talking about their future plans of global expansion, reaching 1 billion users, and how they're able to do that because they have these agile teams, and how proactively they're working with regulators. Which, like, if you follow CZ on Twitter, is not the story. So I'm impressed with her gumption to just go for it. But
I don't
again,
know if
lack of
responding
risk
to
aversion,
lawsuits
Rachel
is.
Conlon, this was maybe not a good career move.
I don't know if responding to lawsuits counts as proactive. Like I'm open to that interpretation, but I feel like I would need a little bit more.
My boyfriend would love the idea that responding to criticism was proactive. No, I'm kidding. Okay, but maybe they are doing the right thing because Binance and Mitsubishi UFJ are exploring the yen stablecoin.
Hey, for every article that there's collapsing or that they are, they just, you know, it's all about balance. Balance is always good.
Yeah, they
And
just
we've
have
reached
a
a very
holistic
interesting
approach to their wellness as a company. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, I do think like I think having stable coins in other currencies is a net positive for the space. Like the fact that you know, not everybody wants to use USD. Don't tell the feds I'm a US citizen. I don't want to use USD.
Yeah.
But you know, I think having options in that will be very promising, and especially like this is somewhat applicable to the yen, but not as much, just because of how the Japanese economy is. But you know, if you look at countries where you know the conversion rate to USD is aggressive,
Right.
uh, you know, it I don't feel like it should feel like you're trying to buy a Bitcoin to buy a USDC. And you know, the reality is that there are parts of the world where that is the case. And so
Yeah.
having options for them to be able to migrate into the crypto space to hold their money on the blockchain to take advantage of that because a lot of the same places are also the worst banking systems in the world. And so being able to do that without, you know, that unpleasant and awkward conversion rate, I think is very positive.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that, and I hope it continues to go to other currencies as well. I think virtually every currency should have a stable coin. Why not?
Well, this is a little bit of a wild stat from the article, which again I did not fact check, but it says that Japan's stablecoin market potential is estimated to be $34 billion, which would be 27% of the global market.
I also saw that.
And so I think that we should look into that a bit more. Maybe I'll publish it on Twitter or LinkedIn later. But like, how could we possibly have 27% of the global market in one stablecoin when that stablecoin isn't even going to officially launch until October 2024?
Yeah, I also saw that and was just like, I mean, I can throw out numbers too.
Yeah, I too have numerical ideas.
And I mean,
okay, I don't want
I
to leave
know.
before we talk about big time. So
That's
I know you're
true.
stoked about big time. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do think Big Time is actually very interesting. Obviously, I am a fan and believer in GameFi. Otherwise, my job would be very awkward. So I think it's really cool. I think
I don't know, man. You don't get paid in crypto, and here you are in Web3.
this is true. I think I think what they're doing is very interesting. I think having more games on the blockchain is always a positive. They're coming in with a pretty like solid team, which is also good because it can get more interest. That said, a lot of this article at least was very focused on, we're not play to earn, but they kind of are. And like,
Right.
that's okay. It's kind of become the new narrative for like newly launching games. We brand ourselves as play and earn. You play and you can earn, and it's great. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But a lot of the narrative lately with newer games that are looking to launch has become like, we are the opposite of play to earn. And it's like, well, the opposite to play to earn is play to lose. So I hope that you're not that. But even aside from that, like, it talks about how, they're going to revolutionize, GameFi and how people can earn while they play. But a lot of it kind of comes down to the same concepts.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, they say that they're free to play. Obviously, what that actually will end up looking like, won't know until it launches, unless somebody else knows. I don't know. I do think free to play has merit and has positives, but like, there has to be money coming into the ecosystem for money to go out from the ecosystem, which means that somebody is playing to earn and somebody is spending money.
And it might be you. So they said that they're not going to have pay to win mechanics, but maybe there's other places that you pay.
Right. So there's from what I saw, there's a pretty wide like cosmetic market that they're planning, which cosmetics are awesome. I'm a big League fan. I suck, but I like to play. And cosmetics are very fun. So I like cosmetics. But then there's also like a crafting system of sorts. But most of the crafting stuff, like to craft, you have to have what they're calling a space, which is a plot of land in their digital metaverse. Well, you have to pay for that. So it's like, right, like there's still, it's not pay to win. That I agree with. And I don't think most Web3 games, I don't think there's many Web3 games that are play to win or pay to win. Sorry, pay to win. There's always the argument of like, well, if I spend more, I get a bigger advantage. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you're just bad at the game, you're still bad at the game. So, it's a trade-off there. So they don't really seem to have any like financial game mechanics where like, but at the same time, like there has to be a benefit to something that costs.
It's kind of interesting. So they say that they'll have a meritocracy basically where there's an in-game economy where as you improve skill and strategic resource use, that you'll be worth more or you'll be able to participate more in that in-game economy. So maybe you get rewards in-game for your playing. And it's just like moving away from idle gaming. But
maybe. Because again, like for those rewards to be worth anything, somebody has to want to buy them.
Yeah, exactly. But you're still earning. You're earning something.
And I don't mean that as a negative. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I just like that's kind of become the narrative of like we're gonna redefine it, and it's like, I mean, maybe like you might find better ways to do it. I'm very like, let's find better ways to do it. I love it, but the base concept is kind of still there. Like,
yeah. Well, okay, before we go, because we're talking about GameFi, it's important to note that Microsoft had a big leak. They're going to integrate Wallet into their Xbox system. Do you think people will care about that? It says it's unprecedented, but like, do people who are playing like Fallout or Halo, do they care about that?
I think that if it is done right, they can be shown the benefit.
Okay.
Do I think that they care today? See that headline and go, that's cool. No. Right. Do I think that they can then be shown what happens? The beauty of digital ownership, what more they can do with it through that, yes. If
See, I'm a conspirator, so I'm like, does this mean that Microsoft is partnering with MasterCard, who's partnering with countries who are doing CBDCs? Is this the long play, or is this just like a nice little PR kind of stuff?
I mean, that, or they could be partnering with Visa. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's just no telling, and Microsoft's a wild card these days. But I mean, ultimately,
I don't think they know.
I hope it doesn't come down to like a buy our NFTs so that they sit here kind of thing, and that there is more utility put into it. Because every time somebody says gamers hate NFTs, no, gamers hate you selling them NFTs that don't do anything. Like,
this is how bureaucratic Microsoft is right now. Like, if they have an agile team actually working in crypto, or is this a proposal someone put together in 2020 and it's finally coming to fruition?
Are they as agile as finance, though?
And then finally, this maybe impacts you. Korean game giant NeoWiz is joining Avalanche. Are you going to work with them? Do you
maybe?
Know
No, I mean, who knows what the future holds, but I do think it's very positive. Obviously, we are big Avalanche fans, but Avalanche has been doing a lot of things to make sure that they stay on top of like evolving technologies and everything, and you can see it in a lot of their partnerships. And having these big companies, these big gaming brands coming to Avalanche is a really, really positive sign for, I mean, really for GameFi period, but especially on the Avalanche ecosystem, obviously, because we're just right there, we're next door neighbors. But yeah, I'm really excited for it, excited to see what they bring. And every time I see another big gaming name doing anything with crypto, it's just a positive. It can only be good for the space.
I love your optimism, despite BitBoy, despite our primary influencer. Okay, that's all the time we have for Go Fund Yourself today. Bolin, thank you for joining us. If people want to find you, what conference are you at tomorrow?
Yes, so I will be at Cypherpunk 2023 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, tomorrow and Thursday. That should be a lot of fun. We'll probably do some streaming and be Twitter posting and all that. So keep an eye on the DeFi Kingdom's Twitter account. You can also find me on Twitter at bolonsoron_DFK. You can also find me on Telegram at the same handle, or you can find me in Discord where I basically live at bolonsoron. So come hang out.
Popular. So if people want to pat you in the face, it's tomorrow in Fort Lauderdale. That's what I'm hearing.
Honestly, I'll let them. Like, that sounds fun. Let's do it. That might be that might be the community hook to get people to the next event we go to. Is I'll tell them that they can all pie me in the face. They'll show up.
Okay, well, we are a live show, as you can tell from these ridiculous antics. We are on every major streaming service, including Spotify and YouTube and 9 different Twitter accounts. So if you want to find us, you can. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and tell your friend, especially if you want to start getting paid in crypto again. You should probably share this specific episode. But with that, Bolin, go fund yourself.
Go fund yourself. Always a pleasure.